Nice. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Library of Alexandria. And today I have Kyle and Anitha again. Again, this esteemed panel to discuss book 2. Mine was called Conspirata. Y'all's was called Lustrum, right?
Mine was Conspirata.
But you're also in Canada.
Yes, mine is Lustrum.
I have the ebook. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, okay. All right, you got the ebook. All right, that's fine. So apparently in Canada, the print version is Lustrum, but the e-version is Conspirata. That's weird. Anyway, this is book 2 of the Cicero trilogy. And so this covers from right after him being elected consul in 63 BC through his exile in
58.
58. Yes, because Caesar's going off to Gaul. Thank you, Anitha. 58. By the absolutely vile Publius Clodius Pulcher. I hate Clodius Pulcher. This in my lectures, he talks like this. Oh, I'm gonna do what I want. That's Clodius Pulcher. He's much more of a playboy than the thug that he actually is, because he's a thug. Like Pulcher's such an incestuous thug. So yeah, there's so much to talk about, and I was going to jump on something. Remind me to come back to the Bonadea scandal, because I have something important to say about that, but that's so far in the future. Yeah. Anyway, thoughts on this book? I was saying behind backstage. I'm always saying stuff backstage. Sarah, what do you think of this book compared to Imperium? I was telling Anitha and Kyle, I think I'm in the minority that liked Imperium only slightly better. And it's because of it was slower paced, and because Pater Patria, the second section, goes really fast over a lot of events really fast. But I liked Catilina, the section, like the section 1, better than any individual section in the first book. I just happen to like. So it's like Catilina or consul, him as consul, and then it's him being elected consul, part 2 of book 1. Then it's part 1 of book 1. And then it's part 2 of this book. So yeah, what are your thoughts, Anitha?
I liked Imperium better. I mean, I like this book, but Imperium, that was my first introduction to all these characters, to all these politics. So I enjoyed that better. Uh, I mean, I like this one, but after that first part, after that Catalina moment, I wanted to calm down. I was like, my emotions were through the roof. I wanted to calm down, but I did not get that chance. I mean, one after one, problems kept on coming. I I don't know. I mean, I liked it a lot, but Imperium was perfect for me.
I got you.
It gave me time to spend spend time with these characters, understand them. In this one, emotion after emotion.
It is hard when just blow after blow after blow keeps coming.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to read, because especially and again, we'll talk about this, Kyle, our experience versus Anitha's, having knowing what's coming. I'm like, oh, here this thing is. Here this thing is. What were your thoughts, Kyle?
So I really liked it. I will be the only one here who says that I liked it more than Imperium. I think there was a couple reasons for that. One is that I had a few minor issues with Imperium that were improved upon here. I mentioned in that live show that I felt like Tiro didn't get enough of his own opinions and thoughts and personality out, and I feel like that was much better in this book.
Agreed.
We're still obviously focused on Cicero, but I feel like Tiro was interjecting more. He was more involved in the narrative itself, and there was even times where when I really liked the stuff where he was worried about the fact that Cicero was just becoming a pompous idiot, and he was going to Quintus, and he's like, what are we going to do about this? All that kind of stuff was just great. And it's kind of the stuff I was missing from the first book.
I agree.
I really liked the Catalina stuff. And I really liked Caesar being liked is the wrong term, but I was really engaged by Caesar being just the absolute worst of all time in this book, because I'm usually a Caesar fan. And I appreciate seeing it from a different perspective. The one thing I will say is Imperium was funnier to me. I thought Imperium was very, very funny.
Cicero has, there are fewer zingers in this one.
Yeah.
And Kyle, you and we are of a mind on Caesar. We are both Caesar stans, but he is the absolute bottom, dregs piece of trash.
I think I said in the Discord when I was near the end of this book, I was like, I've never even contemplated Caesar being worse than Pompey, and he's worse than Pompey in this book. And
because
it was very
Pompey
uncomfortable
is
to
the
me.
worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pompey's always
Factually.
the worst. Like, I
Yeah.
hate Pompey too. I like it's so good. And like what you're talking about, like with Tiro's voice, I love Tiro's just horror, his abject horror at Cicero trying to write an epic poem in
That
the
was
style of the Iliad
honestly
and
maybe my
Odyssey.
favorite part. That was insane.
Oh my gosh. Like the fact that he thinks stopping, because this is like when I teach this, like the kids love Cicero because he stopped Catilina. And then I'm like, wait, guys, do you have a friend that made a joke one time and then every time you see him makes that joke again, or helped you out one time and reminds you that's Cicero. He reminds everyone every time he sees them. And it's because of that dignitas that we talked about last time. Is Romans are their importance is based on their actions and the actions of their family. Cicero doesn't have the second part, but he has that he saved Rome. And so he has to remind everybody. That's all he's got. And that's the only way he can stay relevant. But I did not even realize. And I went and looked into it afterwards. I didn't realize that he freaking wanted to write an Iliad or Odyssey, like about these dudes.
I didn't know that either.
And no poet would take it, so he wrote it himself. And just the lines that Tiro reads, it's just like.
Do you know if those were actual lines, or if we don't have what he tried to write? Do you know?
I think we do have some of it, because I think he wrote it. I think he wrote samples to Atticus in the letters, and
also Tiro said he took excerpts from that last book, Secret History of My Consulship. Whatever they have written at the end, Tiro said that he took inspiration from that in his own book.
Oh yeah. So, like, I just can't. Like, I can't even with Cicero. With the poem thing, like, I can't. But you're absolutely right, Kyle. Like, Tiro, his voice was much, much stronger in this one. I think it's a lot of it is because his opinion contrasted with what Cicero was doing a lot more, or he was just really concerned about Cicero, like, getting freaking shanked in broad daylight. I do like that we get more Atticus in this one also.
Yes, me too.
Because
Atticus was really good in this one.
How is he friends with Cicero?
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Atticus is the friend that's just like, he's just down for anything. He's just like, he's like, all right, I guess we'll do that. That's fine. Because Cicero is mean.
Even just like at the very end, when like Cicero's gathering his like last few allies before he goes into exile, I'm just like surprised. There's only like 5 people that showed up. I'm surprised any of them did. Like Hortensius is there, and I'm like, aren't you above this now? But I'm like, whatever. Good for you, man. Stick by your friends.
Who was there? Hortensius, Atticus,
Cato.
Isauricus
there. Good for Cato. Who else?
And then I think there was one more.
Oh, Isauricus. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The oldest of the old guard is there, and then Cato.
Yeah.
I missed Catulus.
Quintus is still in Asia.
I missed Catulus at the end in the second part. I am surprised by that when all this Caesar thing is happening.
The fact that Catulus just freaking has a stroke, like
yeah.
right
that
there.
Was really sad.
It was.
Yeah.
He just. It's so weird for me, and Kyle, probably is for you, like knowing the history. It is so weird to be in the corner of these old stodgy.
I know. Yeah.
Like. And I understand, like they do in their own way love their country. They also really love their position within the country. But they do really truly believe that these people are threats to the nation at large. And so rooting for Catulus or Hortensius or Isauricus in this is just like, I mean, it's good. Like Harris has done a really good job with, painting. They're not saints either. Like we're not rooting for them because they're the clear good guys. We're rooting for them because everyone is terrible. Mm-hmm. So anyway, let's start with the Catilina stuff. We've gone way ahead. Let's start with Catilina. I like this. How is this not a movie? Why do we focus on Caesar all the time and not like How is the Catiline stuff not a movie? Oh, oh my gosh!
There's so much stuff like the generation before Caesar, or not even generation, but just like before Caesar's rise. It
with
would be
Marius and
excellent.
Sulla and
Marius and Sulla, yeah. So many things.
the Teutons and the Cimbri and the Jugurthine War and all that stuff.
Yeah. Anitha, what did you think of the Catilina parts?
Yes, we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Okay, it's I mean, how to say, I was actually surprised that he can't even tolerate Cicero for 1 year. Just if he had waited 3 more months, that Cicero's term would have been over. He didn't even have that patience. And I think other people like Crassus, Caesar, they all, even Pompey, they all used Catilina's, what do you say, stupidity or his anger or his psychomaniacness, because at the end of the day he became the victim, but all other people survived that, and they got the power finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Catiline is like Caesar from a really really old and like esteemed family, like noble family, unlike Cicero. But he has no money. Like they've fallen in hard times. They don't really have any influence. They just have their name, basically like the Julians, before Caesar's aunt married Marius. And so Catiline is infuriated that and literally we have records of Catiline railing against Cicero, calling him an immigrant, calling him a foreigner, and then Cicero calls Catiline a terrorist. And guess what? That kind of discourse, political discourse, ended with the fall of the Roman Empire. We don't throw those terms around anymore now, and that's good. And that's good because we see what happens in the empire. But it's just like nothing changes in politics. And the reason he can't wait, Anitha, is because, first of all, Cicero would not stop trying to keep Catiline out of office, even if Cicero's out of office. There's no way he would not continue to try to stymie him. And two, he cannot imagine, we have to get in the Romans' heads about how lesser they thought people who were not pure-born old family Romans were. Like the fact that Cicero was from a wealthy launderer's family, 40 miles outside of Rome, is like the us and them. Like he is so far beneath them that they can't even imagine. Like you can't even imagine being bested by this twerp, and that's hard for us to. I mean, if you're not like that, it's hard to like get in the mindset of be like, what's y'all's problem? But no, like the Catiline, the Sergians stretching all the way back, the Julians, like the families. It's just so. It blinds them to like everything else. And if you're not one of those, you have so much to try to prove, hence Cicero's ambition or Pompey's ambition and stuff like that. Kyle, what are your thoughts on the Catiline part?
I just want to 1 minute. I just want to add one more thing. I think though we look at Catiline as the main villain, at least in the first book, as he committed treason, I don't think even Caesar is okay. Please don't. I know you all like Caesar, but I don't think, at least in this book, I don't think Caesar is better than Catiline. He committed more treasons in this book, but it's just that Cataline is just stupid enough to get caught, to fall in the trap laid by Cicero. That's the mistake he did. And every time he planned, Cicero's well-wishers came and told him, so Cicero could be one step ahead of him. Otherwise, I don't think Catiline was worse than, sorry, Caesar.
Oh, Caesar's awful in this book. No, it's fine. If you haven't read any other stuff about Caesar, that's fine. You are he's terrible in this one.
Yeah. It was troublesome how so I thought I knew like a fair amount about the Catiline conspiracy, and I guess that I didn't, because there was a lot in this part of the book that really surprised me, which is maybe partially why I liked it a little better, because I did not know that, we were talking about this before we started, that it's most probable that Crassus and Caesar were part of the conspiracy, but they just didn't get caught for it or whatever. I did not know that, and that makes it way more interesting to me, knowing like Crassus and Caesar's trajectories, and like of course, like I was just like slapping my head. I'm like, obviously Caesar was involved. Like, why would he not be? But I just had never known that. And so this whole time I was just like, oh, they're using him as just this pawn to just see, like, they're just like floating out a bomb and putting it into the Senate and be like, if this bomb kills everybody, then we can come in and do what we want. But if not, we'll find a new bomb. Like, they just totally, you know, and then even Pompey with the whole weapons thing that we find out near the end where he was supplying them with weapons. I was like,
so that's the part. I didn't know that. I had to go look that up afterwards too. I was like, holy crap, Pompey was in on it?
Yeah.
Oh
so
my gosh.
all of these people just being into it, I was just like, oh man. And then like, I didn't know, like I did know that afterwards Cicero just kind of, this was his last great, like this, he was like, that was why people knew Cicero. That's why people took his opinion so seriously, is that he saved Rome. But I did not know how he just walked up to everybody every day and be like, remember when I saved everybody? Remember when I saved everybody? And that was just all very, very fun for me. And just how much people did not like that he did that.
I loved the foreshadowing early in the book where Cicero talks about talks about something about putting people to death without trial. And like knowing what was coming, I'm like, Cicero is not talking about, like, he is not talking about execution without trial right now. Like, I know Cicero's not talking about that when he's about to execute people without trial coming up in a minute.
Speaking of which, I didn't know, this isn't that big of a thing, but my rabbit's name is Sura, because when we got the rabbit, we had just watched the TV show Spartacus, and Spartacus's wife is named Sura, and my wife really liked that name. Nice. So she's like, we should just name her Sura. And I've never heard that name anywhere else besides that show. So then I didn't know that his like chief co-conspirator was Lentulus Sura.
Lentulus Sura, yeah.
And so I was just like, no, we named him after an evil co-conspirator of the Catilina conspiracy. And then he's also the stepfather to Mark Antony, which is my least favorite person in this whole era.
So. Kyle, can you imagine, like, we've got to read this at a similar time, Kyle. We have to, because Mark Antony in this book, like, he's like, I don't even know what my thoughts are going to be. Freaking Mark Antony in this next book. I have
a feeling we're going to start the next one, and instead of Anitha hating on Caesar, she's going to be hating on Mark Antony.
There's no way she hates Caesar more than Antony after this next book. There's no way. There's no way. I hate Mark Antony, period. But I especially hate him in this particular time period.
Real quick. So Jake was just finishing Augustus. So he was reading Augustus. He was reacting in your Discord, but he was also reacting in Alex's Discord. And so one of the people on Alex's Discord, when he first started, he like commented something about Mark Antony. And the guy was like, oh, you know, like I kind of always thought Mark Antony was cool. And then he read the book, and then you could just see him going through with Jake being like, wow, Mark Antony sucks. And I'm like, yeah, like we all hate him for a reason.
You know, I'm glad I read Augustus before this trilogy, because otherwise my hatred for Caesar would have carried to that, and it would have, carry over to Augustus.
Oh, then you would have transferred the hate of Caesar onto Augustus.
We need to get you to read a different Caesar book after this, for real.
But so the Catiline stuff, like, it's. So when I teach about the Catiline thing, like it came close to overthrowing Rome, and Cicero saved it. This book does such a good job showing how close Catiline actually comes to overthrowing the Republic. Like, he came within a razor's edge of murdering. Like the fact that his goons were burning Cicero's house to get him out of there, like, and we're gonna murder him. And Tiro's throwing the torches back. Like, yeah. Oh, that was so awesome.
I have a question here. When Rufus came to tell Cicero and others that he's going to be attacked that night or dawn, did he come to attack from inside or really try to help?
I think Rufus has really torn allegiances. I think he was. I think he was warning him while also being part of the conspiracy. So. I don't know. I mean,
he had to have been actually warning him, because the exact people showed up and
But
did exactly what he said.
Yeah.
yeah, but immediately after that, he never came back to Cicero. He was always against Cicero. So I that made
I
me
just
wonder,
think, like,
actually maybe he wanted to attack from inside because he did not want to leave. These guys forced him to leave.
listen,
Maybe.
Alan and I are enemies sometimes, but if somebody came to me and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go kill Alan," I'd be like, "I should tell Alan." But then after I told Alan someone was gonna kill him, I'd still be like, I mean, he is still my mortal enemy. So
That's true.
I think that's kind of how it is. It's like Rufus, I think, wanted to not be involved with Cicero, and I think he agreed with the Catiline's end goal, but not his methods. And so when he was starting to just say, "We're gonna burn down Cicero's house," he was like, "Well, Cicero was nice to me in the past." Like, I think there was just that shred of loyalty and human decency there, where he was like,
Yeah.
"I don't want him to be burned alive in his house, but that doesn't mean we're friends again." You know?
Yeah, and I don't mind if you shank him in the forum, like, but burning him alive in his house, like, that's a little too far. Now, I struggled to hold my lunch in this book when this right here, him taking the bribe for the house, I was like, Cicero. Ugh, it
Good callback to the first book too.
made me so sick. Him, I hated it. I hated it. And again, it goes back to the fact that Cicero needs that house on the Palatine because that's where the important people lived. And and then and the thing that everyone warned him is like, hey, why is Crassus giving you this house on the cheap? Like, hey, bud, why is Crassus giving you this house on the cheap? Which, by the way, you still can't afford. And the fact that Cicero doesn't even seem to hand wring. He doesn't wring his hands at all about it. He's just
He
like,
literally is just like, "I'll take a bribe so that I can," and like do go against my beliefs on who should be. Like, I forget whose trial it was, but he was just like, "I'll defend him," and he just knew he was guilty. That part is like, it's not that I don't think what Cicero did was wrong. It's more so that, like, and I know they're just like, I understand what's actually happening, which is that they're using that as like a scapegoat reason to like not get people to be on Cicero's side. But when people are like trying to burn down Rome and like kill Cicero and do all these crazy things, and Pulcher's doing riots in the streets, for them to hand ring in court and be or in the Senate and be like, this guy got a cheap house. I just want to be like, guys, I mean, I jaywalk, like like it just doesn't. It seems small potatoes.
Yeah. Also, Atticus tells Tiro that it wasn't his delicate stomach that's troubling him, it's his conscience. If he were entirely satisfied that what he did was right, he wouldn't feel the need to justify himself so endlessly. That actually made me give some benefit of doubt to Cicero, the way he's writing poems, the way he's telling everyone, even the house part. I think he is not able to, come to terms with his conscience. So I gave him benefit of doubt.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like my problem is not that he takes the bribe. My problem is that he comes out and makes a huge deal about other people taking bribes in the first book. Like, that's what bothers me. And you're right, Kyle. Like, in the scheme of what's going on in the Senate right now, calling Cicero out for the cheap house, like, he's a saint. The only one who's not taking bribes there is probably Cato. Cato liked gambling and he liked to drink, but otherwise he wasn't corrupt. So it's freaking Cicero, like, just the insanity of Catiline, like, who's just like the brazenness of literally plotting his murder to where. And I love that how embarrassed Cicero is wearing the breastplate, like, beneath the and when Cicero drops that F-bomb, like, after he gets home and he tears off the breastplate and throws it across the room, it like ends one of the chapters. Like, he just like, I like watching the like the unraveling kind of Cicero's mental state, where he's just exhausted and he's terrified and he doesn't have any way out. Kyle, again, the quote that you posted about what is it, like, I got to power by words, and
like, I used language. I got to power with language, and language will be how I save myself. Yeah, that was excellent. Honestly, the last like 2 chapters are what cemented this as me liking it more than Imperium, because like
Yeah.
the end was just really really good.
Yeah, last three chapters, I did not stop crying. Actually, this is where Harris' writing shined for me because, even Pompey, even Cicero, I sent that screenshot. Cato said that he did not have to go to war against those nations, but he went and plundered all those cities. And even Caesar, he was supposed to govern the Spanish, but he went on war with someone. All these people, they're all bad people actually. They went and plundered all neighboring countries. But even then, of course, except Pompey and Caesar, other people like Claudius' husband, what is his name?
Claudia's husband, Metellus Celer.
Yeah,
Keller,
Metellus.
yeah.
when he was poisoned, I cried so much. The way Harris made me feel for these characters, for even for Horatius when he was attacked by a mob at the end, for Cicero, irrespective of his faults, I felt so much for those characters. At the same time, when Claudius is riling up this mob and attacking Cicero and took control of Rome. I wept for Rome. I really liked the way Harris wrote that part. I don't have any relationship with Rome actually. I shouldn't care that much, but
That's
I
excellent.
Yeah, I love this.
yeah.
That's
Like
so
just that
awesome.
this is like the pinnacle historical fiction experience to me. Like that you're feeling this way.
Yeah.
Like that you can have so much emotion about this, and it's like not even a long book, and you feel like sad for Rome and for all these people. Like
That
Yeah.
entire system getting destroyed actually got to me. I understand all these people are corrupt people. These senators, especially patricians, don't care about people. They are just corrupt and they care about their own money. Even then, the entire system getting destroyed, people
Come on.
like a mob, it reminded me actually of most of our current politics. That's one of the reasons I hated Caesar. I don't mind his ambition. Maybe he's a good military commander. I did not see his part. At the same time, I don't know the authenticity of that battles he was involved in. But what we have seen is he was the reason of all these people not caring about senate, all these mobs attacking senators, attacking everyone. He's the reason behind that. I don't like politicians using people like that, disturbing the sanity and
Yeah.
uh, peace of that city.
Yeah. You don't like politicians stirring up the mob. Yeah. I mean, and like I
one
was
would
saying,
say demagogues, perhaps.
yeah, like I was saying in the Discord, it's like Caesar in real life, Caesar really did try to work within the framework of the Senate, and they just weren't going to have it because land reform, and we see it how yes, they're doing it for themselves. Yeah, yes. Like, and Crassus does not have the people's interests in mind, like at all. Crassus wants
Yeah.
money. That is the only thing. Crassus wants money and he wants a military triumph. Remember, he tried to get Cicero to give him the commission to take out Catiline, because that's the only thing Crassus can't buy. He cannot buy a military triumph. And
it's
so
a very interesting thing with like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
no,
you,
go ahead.
but it's an interesting thing. Like I think in like modern stories, when there's like a really rich person, the whole like thing is like love, right? Like they're like, oh, I have to find somebody who loves me for me and not my riches. And that tends to be like the story beat, just from what I've noticed. But with Crassus, and this is actually how he was the richest man in Rome. He could buy anything he wanted. He could do whatever he wanted, but you cannot buy respect.
Yep.
And the ultimate respect, the reason that Pompey is the great, the reason that everybody loved Caesar is that they were excellent military commanders. And Crassus had one moment of brilliance, and that was against Spartacus.
And then Pompey took credit for it.
And Pompey took credit for it. And that just, man, if there's one thing on Crassus's dying day that he was mad about, it would have been that exact thing, because that was his only moment, and it got taken from him by goddamn Pompey.
Yeah,
100%. So yeah, it just drives him so much. It is his whole life's ambition, is to be able to have just somebody to be like, wow, good job at killing folk.
Yeah, and Anitha, like the money for the Romans was secondary. Money was you had money so that you could have power. The Romans did not value businessmen or merchants. They were second class citizens. Like they called Augustus. You saw it in when we were talking about Augustus. His ancestors had coin stained hands. They didn't like merchants and businessmen. Better to be from an old poor family than from like a rich merchant family. And so Crassus, Kyle's absolutely right. He cannot buy the respect of what Pompey and Caesar and Marius, Sulla, these great military commanders, there goes Luffy, got, because he can't like, and so all he wants is a commission. He want like, let me freaking lead an army. And Cicero denies him against Catiline. And then Caesar does give a crap about, Caesar grew up poor. And so he does actually care about the people. He doesn't think the people are doing anything, but not in a non-selfish way. He cares about the people. He's like, I can help the people and stick it to these like old fuddy-duddies, but also further my own career. And so, and the land reform thing, like they needed land reform. People needed, because on these tenant farmers, like let's say they make like $10 a week at the or 10 sesterces a week on these freaking farms, farming it for these senators and these patricians that owned all the freaking good land. Well, they're paying 9 of it back in rent to live on the freaking property. And so like there's no way for these people to make it, like to make their own living. They're so subservient, and they're not slaves. These are freedmen. Or these are freeborn men. And so, you know, the Senate's just like, it's what it's like is all these freaking people, it's all these freaking big corporations buying up all of the condos and houses on the beach here in Panama City and then renting them out at Airbnb. That's what it is, where meanwhile, no one in this city can afford to buy a house. That's what it is. Caesar, land reform that crap. Get him, Caesar. Like, that's why I like Caesar, is because he's like, no. But he's such a douchebag. Like, he's just so unpleasant.
He can't even give proper respect for his co-consul elect, Bibulus.
Oh, Bibulus is the worst, though.
Bibulus
no. Don't feel bad for Bibulus. That poop he got dumped on his head, he deserved it.
Oh, that I mean, I don't know that, but I have only seen this part where how Caesar disrespected him. So I hated Caesar for that also.
This is a good question. I have my thoughts, but I think you probably know more. Do you want to talk about that, Alan?
What happens with Marius? This all goes back to Marius and the Marian reforms on how we're letting poor people, and the lower classes basically into the military. You fight, and this was one of the problems with the empire and the republic in general. You fight, and your reward at the end of the war is you are given land. So that you can become, and remember, these people came from nothing, and their reward from their country is that they are given land so that they can have their own farm and like get that kind of like, there's a dignity in producing for yourself. You know what I mean? Like there's no real shame if you fall on hard times, like moving back in with your parents, like as an adult or whatever, but there's a certain dignity of being able to live on your own and pay for your own stuff and that kind of thing. And so that is what Pompey is trying to do for his veterans, is give them some way to make a livelihood after they're a soldier. Because understand, until Augustus, there is no such thing as a career soldier. Being in the military is not a job the way it is here. There wasn't a standing army. So these people, they grab their gear, they go fight, and then when it's over, they're decommissioned and they have to be civilians again. So Pompey wants to make sure that these people are taken care of and have some kind of. Now, I think, Kyle, was it you that said just because you're just because you were a good soldier doesn't mean you were a good farmer? So like some of them shouldn't. I don't know. Someone said it in the Discord.
I don't think that was me.
Some of them shouldn't necessarily have had land because, just because you're good at fighting doesn't mean you're good at, running a business or taking care of your land or whatever. But that's what Pompey's trying to do, Sarah. And that became basically the standard. And so the problem in the empire is that they're constantly fighting wars. and constantly decommissioning soldiers who need land, but then they run out of land they can give them.
Yeah.
The only way they can get more is by continuing to expand and conquering new lands that they can then settle the veterans on. And at some point, it just becomes untenable. Thoughts, Kyle?
Why can't
No, go ahead.
why can't Pompey share his 200 some million of whatever?
Absurd,
No,
Anitha.
that's
absurd.
Ridiculous. I can't even believe you suggest that.
I wish Cicero had suggested that to Pompey.
Pompey.
No, yeah, that's basically what I was gonna say. Except like, I don't remember the amount of veterans that it was, but I think part of it is them bristling at Pompey coming back and just being like, I did all these things, signed the paperwork, pish posh, like I'm the great, you're not, you're all the not great, I'm the great. Like part of it is how he did it versus just like if he had came in and been like, hey, I need some land for my dudes. Like it's just the arrogance. And he's been gone from Rome for so long. And Rome has a long memory and a short memory, but it does not have a medium memory.
No.
Like if your great grandfather, defeated Hannibal, like you're going to be treated with tons of respect, even though you haven't done anything.
Yeah.
If you defeated Spartacus 10 hours ago, you are now the great. But if 2 years ago you were in Rome and now you're not, you might as well not have existed. And so Pompey comes back, and then he's just like, I'm still Pompey, and everybody's kind of like suffering from whiplash.
Yeah, they've kind of moved on. They've like Pompey's stuff. They've moved on. Like Pompey's in the East, out of sight, out of mind. Like we don't have time to deal with this crap. And yeah, but Pompey annexes a bunch of territory, and he puts down a rebellion from the Jews in Judea. And he freaking busts into the Temple of Solomon and walks up to the freaking Ark of the Covenant. He does not open it because he saw Raiders of the Lost Ark before he went over there. But he does walk up to it. But okay, so I love because a lot of people don't know, even if they know about the triumvirate, and the triumvirate being Caesar, Crassus, and Pompey deciding they're just going to run the country, which is totally illegal. A lot of people don't realize that they offered it to Cicero. Like Caesar offers it to Cicero, and I love that scene. Like where it looks like Cicero might take it, but the longer Caesar talks, he's just like, I think you linked that quote also.
Yeah, I mean that was probably my favorite scene in the book. I thought that was excellent,
so
and
good.
It's a really good Cicero moment in a book not full of many Cicero moments for a while, because the second half of that book is just Cicero he's either kind of scared for his life or he's just being an ass to people. And I mean, he took the bribe, and like the main two things Cicero's doing in the second half of the book is dealing with the fact that he took the bribe and dealing with the fact of like him making enemies for the first half. And so for him to still have like something where he's in the moral high ground, he's like, no, I love my country and I'm absolutely not going to be involved in whatever illegal crap you guys are dealing with. It was just an excellent moment.
That's actually one of the reasons I like Cicero. I like people who make sacrifices for their principles. When he gave up Macedonia, I was like, oh my God, I'm in love with this guy. That's main thing. People having integrity and who is willing to give up anything, who are willing to make sacrifices to stand on their principles. I always love those characters.
Yeah, same. And yes, Pompey is mad because Cicero is a big deal for having done that. Like that's why Pompey so desperately wanted to come back and be the one that whooped Catiline, because then he gets to like piggyback on that.
That moment when Crassus just talks up Cicero being the savior in front of Pompey is hilarious. He was just
Cicero
doesn't get it. Yeah, he doesn't understand what's going on at all. He's like, of course, yeah, I'm absolutely the guy.
He has no idea that Crassus is throwing him under the Pompey bus. Yeah. That is so brilliant. I love it. And talking about Kyle, all the enemies that he makes in part 1. Cicero did not have to literally subtweet every freaking person there. He did not have to go after the big guns when he makes that speech. Like Catiline was enough, but just like throwing like Caesar and all of them under the bus.
I liked when Oh, who was the really old guy on trial? It wasn't Hortensius.
Was it Rabirius? Was that
Hiberius. Yeah,
Yes.
it was Hiberius when he's like does this speech, and then Hiberius like is
He's
exiled or
clueless.
whatever.
Yeah, Rabirius has
And then
no idea.
he's just like, don't worry about me. You got to worry about yourself now. Like you just even he's like that speech was too much, man. Like
Oh man, so good. And the Catilinarian, I was waiting the whole book. I was waiting for him to say, "How long, Catiline?" Which because it's very famous of the first. But we only get the first Catilinarian. He actually gave 4 speeches. He gave one the one we get. He gives a second one the next day to the people in the forum, and then a week later he gives another one to the Senate, and then the next day another one to the people, all about Catiline. And so I'm sad we didn't get a bunch of those, but I mean, the book can't be just Cicero's.
yeah,
speeches.
it would just be you could literally just do Cicero's speeches to be the whole book.
But they're so good. I love the part in the speech where he's like, "We have killed people for so much less than what you are doing. How are you still alive, Catiline? Why have we not killed you? We executed this guy for daring to suggest that there be land reform. And we haven't killed you when we know that you're plotting to like overthrow people." And then Hybrida being involved in like the killing of the boy and the making, like he made them swear an oath on the dead boy's guts.
Yeah.
Like that's so
Gothic.
Oh my God. I know Cicero is this popular orator, but my favorite speech in this book is not by Cicero.
Is it
It is by
Cato's?
Cato.
Yeah, that
Oh
speech
my
is
God.
really good. Yeah, very. In
know-
general, Cato's excellent in this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that scene where they hanged all those people, that was very bleak. I don't condone that, but when Cato tells them, "What the hell is wrong with you? Wake up, people!" and oh my God, that was awesome moment.
Because
I
the senators are equivocators because they're just so political that they don't want to do anything that's gonna like they got to figure out which way the wind's blowing. So they all want to kill him. And then Caesar stands up and is like, "Guys, but exile, right?" And they're like, "Oh no, that's way better. Like, no, the imprisonment for life, like out of Rome." And then Cato's like, "Are y'all freaking kidding me? Like, are y'all kidding me? Like, if we're weak on treason now, do you think that the next conspirators are going to be afraid?" And they're like, "Oh no, that's what we meant. We meant kill him. Oh yeah, let's do that." They're so feckless. Like I hate them.
Feckless is a great
Actually-
term for them.
hate them.
actually that's the sorry
No,
sorry.
go
Ali.
ahead. Go ahead.
That's the only moment maybe I respected Caesar actually. Even though wind is against him, he had courage enough, to get up and talk against death penalty. I respected him there.
Who, Caesar?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, the thing is, Caesar knows, and Cicero is absolutely correct. Imprisonment for life, house arrest for life outside of Rome is a better option, except for the fact that the second the government changes, they'll just find a way, like they'll just repeal it. And that's why Cicero's right. Like, that's why. Because good. They have lived. And the fact that he can't say, "Yeah, they died." They have lived. After I kill Kyle, I'm going to say, you know what? Kyle did live. Kyle will have lived in the future. I like that they kill him, but it's a foolish move. And the thing is, Cicero knows they're going to use it against him, or he doesn't, but he should. He should know that they're going to use it against him because, I don't know.
I mean, I agree that they needed to die, like, which is weird, like, because, I mean, if this all happened in real life, I'm like pretty anti-death penalty, but like, just back that, like, that is the best option for what the time was, and I do think, like, they're just kind of hypocritical. Like, I don't really know where my thoughts coalesce on this, but it's just like these guys were gonna kill you, like exactly what Cato was like. It was like if they had succeeded, we wouldn't even be able to have this vote. Like, we cannot afford mercy right now. And so I was just like, I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. Like, you guys should just let this happen. And then, of course, everybody then uses it for their own political motives and Cicero's the fall guy.
Who is it that doesn't like? Is it Caesar who, when Pulcher is trying to pass the law that's going to exile Cicero because it's retroactive?
Pompey.
It's Pompey?
Yeah.
Pompey supports it, even though he's like, yeah, I don't like retroactive laws, but I'm going to support it anyway. I freaking hate you, Pompey. Like, I hate you. Retroactive laws are.
Or no, you were right. It was Caesar, because Pompey didn't support it at all. But then when they went to Caesar, he was like, I don't support retroactive laws. You just read this, Anitha. Are we right?
Can you repeat the question?
Near the end of the book, when Cicero's getting exiled, he goes to either Pompey or Caesar, and then the person is like, I don't really like retroactive laws, but I'm still going to support this bill.
I think you may be right. I think it is Pompey, because he goes to Pompey. He tries to play like one final card on Pompey, and he's like, "Hey, Pompey," and then Pompey just like is like, I can't, like, I can't do anything. Like, I'm just
whatever you said. It did not happen in this book, so that's why I'm so confused.
No, it definitely happened in this book. It's just that there was two scenes right next to each other.
Cicero went twice to Pompey. Before, when Claudius was converted to plebeian, then Pompey apologized that he couldn't do anything, but later he tried to send him to Armenia or something, but Claudius refused to go. That's where he fell off. At the end, when Cicero went to visit him, he did not even meet him.
Oh, that's right. Caesar. So it was Caesar. Caesar.
Okay.
Oh, the fact that Pompey was at the freaking window, like, get out of here.
Pompey sucks.
Pompey does suck. I hate Pompey. Like, have the guts to come face freaking.
I do think it's funny, just from Anitha's perspective, like, that she'll be like, I kind of didn't like Pompey, and you and I are like, Pompey sucks, and then she's like, I don't really like Caesar, and we're like, well, he's a guy, like, he just got, like, where Caesar is, like, objectively worse in this book.
Yeah, so Caesar's a douche. Pompey's a coward. Like, he's a coward. Like, at least Caesar's just like, hey, bro, I'm gonna hit you with a steamroller if you oppose me. And Cicero's like, you're evil. And I'm like, okay, sorry. Pompey's like, well, but then, tell him I'm not home. Tell him I'm not home. Like,
I think as Alan, you're right. He is a people pleaser. If he comes and talk to Cicero, he will promise something and he has to act. So he doesn't want to do that. You're right.
Well, doesn't Cicero lambaste Pompey? Doesn't he throw crap back in his face? Like, doesn't Cicero like yell at Pompey?
Only when he yelled only once when Claudius was turned to plebeian. Then he went to ask.
Yeah, he goes to Pompey because, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, and then Pompey's like, well, no, I get it. Oh, like, I understand you're mad, but Pompey's I can't even talk about him anymore. Pompey sucks. I freaking hate him. I hate him so much. What do y'all think? So there was rumor Terentia hated Clodia. Like, that is historically, like, factual. She hated Clodia because Cicero would flirt with her, like he does in this freaking book. What do y'all think? What do y'all think of Clodia and Terentia in this book? What do y'all think? I love the Terentia moment where she takes off all those jewelry, because Cicero keeps being like, Macedonia will pay. Macedonia will pay. All the while knowing he's going to trade away Macedonia.
Yeah. No, Terentia is awesome. She's awesome in like
so
every
awesome.
scene. I
Even
just
that
enjoy her.
final moment, she's awesome actually.
Yeah.
Until
Clodia, I don't know. So Clodia is a more prominent character in that other series I was talking about, the Stephen Saylor one. And because, like, it's kind of like how if Anitha was to read something else with Caesar in it, she would be biased. Like, I just like Clodia more in that series, and because she's in like 4 or 5 of the books, so I just like her because of that portrayal. But in terms of this book, like, I thought she was fine. Like,
is she a hoe in those other books? Because she was a profligate hoe.
She's mostly a hoe.
Okay, because she was like a 7-Eleven. She's open 24/7. 365
I,
for business.
you know,
Claudia,
I
ugh.
I didn't care about her much. Being if I were Terentia, Cicero doesn't have to flirt with Claudia. I mean, by just with all the talk among all wives, I would have hated her.
Oh, for
Yeah. Oh
sure.
yeah, and Claudia and her brother. Yeah, I mean that's gross. Like I'm a Game of Thrones fan. I just I'm just like incest. Whatever, old news. But yeah, like that's a real person, so it's gross. Yeah.
So Caesar, like everyone's shocked at him dropping his. So the Bona Dea festival with freaking Clodius Pulcher, who literally did it to one, try to sleep with Caesar's wife, but two, because he thought like Clodius runs around with this group of young guys who like crap on tradition because they think they think it's funnier to appeal to the mob. They do things because they think it's funny. Like he didn't go into the Bona Dea festival other than to mac on Pompeia, other than he like on a lark. He's like, bet I won't. And they're like, oh, you won't. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna do it and dress up like a freaking woman. And so when he grabs the nightgown or whatever from the
Sift.
woman, like I'm like, okay, here we go, because I know it's coming. I love what this book did, how big of a deal they made the Bona Dea scandal, because a lot of history books like kind of gloss over it. Like, Cicero put him on trial for it. Caesar refused to. Caesar should have, because Caesar is the chief priest. He's a Pontifex Maximus. It's his job to punish sacrilegious crimes. But he doesn't, because Caesar's a better politician than Cicero. Cicero makes people mad. Caesar knows that Clodius Pulcher is so popular with the mob that that exactly what happened to Cicero will happen to Caesar if he goes after him. I love the fact that they make, because that is, guys, it's a huge deal. Like, these are sacred rights that men are not and have never been on. And he commits this incredible sacrilegious thing. And I know we're like, we as Americans or Canadians, like, okay, religious ceremony, whatever. Like, I have a Christmas tree too. This, like, the Romans were incredibly superstitious. Even if they didn't believe in any of it, they were incredibly superstitious. It was a matter of form that you obeyed the rituals. Like, it was a big deal. And so I like that Cicero is like, no. Like, this boy's going down for this. And like we see, like, he almost has Clodius. Like, he gets Clodius on the ropes for this, doesn't he? And then he pulls out a 11th hour victory.
Yeah, they had to bribe all jury.
Like, an insane amount. Oh, yeah, because Crassus is bankrolling the bribes, right? Isn't he like, he's paying 3 million sesterces for this guy? Oh, I love it. Like, it's so, because it's so evident. Like, it's the same frustrations we deal with now. Like, you can't, like, it can't be fair.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Anitha.
Why did Crassus offer 2 million for Cicero's house at the end?
Because he knew Clodius was going to burn it down.
Yeah, that's why I was saying that was a
like,
good callback to the first book, when Crassus is like, nice house, and then Cicero's like, I'll keep you in mind if there's a fire, and then at the end of this
fire,
yeah,
that was excellent. Yeah, because he knows, because Cicero refuses to accept, like, he can't accept what's about to happen to him. Like,
he's in denial for the whole book.
He is in complete denial that they're gonna, Anitha, they're gonna exile the father of the country. He saved Rome, Anitha. Like, they're not gonna exile Cicero. And so he's in complete denial. And Crassus is like, dude, you have no idea which way the wind's blowing. You're getting exiled. And he's already said he's gonna burn that house down. And he's gonna dedicate it to a holy site so you can't rebuild it. I'm going to give you 2 million sesterces right now, because when it's burned down, you're not going to get jack for it. Cicero can't accept it. He just.
What do you think would have happened if Cicero had accepted the legateship for Caesar?
He would have been killed in Gaul, because he's a bad soldier and a bad military commander.
Yeah, but wasn't it going to be mostly paperwork? Like,
oh, you're right. Then he would have
going back to the Senate and stuff like that for him.
He would have ridden. Here's the thing. So if he had done that, he would have deserted Caesar after Gaul the way Labienus does.
That's very true. He would have never stood for the stuff Caesar does not. So yeah, you're 100% right.
There's no
that's
way
exactly what would have happened.
That's what
And then,
even Cicero said. I would have to abandon him somewhere, and then he will finish me completely.
exactly.
And
that's
Terentius
exactly
says that
true.
you're already finished.
Yeah, so it wouldn't have changed. It wouldn't have changed much historically, because even if he avoided all this stuff by being in Gaul, once Caesar's back from Gaul, he'd bail.
Abandoned ship. Yeah.
Man, this book is so good. This series is so good.
You know,
Yeah, there's so much stuff happening. Like when we first started talking about it, I was like, I mean, I really liked the book, but then we kept talking about little moments. I was like, oh man, there's just so many things. Like every page has something.
I went back and reread the part about the poem because it's so funny. Tiro is desperately like, please. Oh, and when he's like, Cicero, please don't send your poem to Pompey. Please don't send.
I know, like he's like he doesn't he go to Atticus and he's like, can we not send it to Pompey? Or he shows it to him. He's like, well, Pompey will never hear of this. He's like, I already sent him a copy. That really sucks. Like, because Tiro's a slave ultimately. Like, I mean, he can have his opinions, and he knows that he's like, you know, like Cicero's most trusted guy. But when all things are on the table, he is a slave, and he can't be like, Cicero, this is a bad idea. You cannot do this, because that's his master. And you know, if Cicero's in a bad mood, he could just be like, shut up, slave. Like, you know, so it must have been very uncomfortable for Tiro.
Is it Quintus that comes to Tiro and is like, hey, like,
it's Atticus.
We're gonna
Atticus.
Okay. Yeah. That says we're gonna free you, like, or you're gonna get your freedom.
No, Quintus. That's Quintus actually.
That's
before
Quintus.
He leaves
yeah,
for Asia.
it is, because then Quintus stays in Asia longer, and then okay. What was I gonna say? Oh, at the end where Cicero offers Tiro his freedom, and then Tiro doesn't take it. What did you guys think about that?
I was talking about other thing where he gave money to Atticus to liberate Agathe.
Oh yeah,
that was actually a really beautiful moment, because that girl doesn't even recognize Tiro. Even then, Tiro is willing to sacrifice his own money. That was actually a beautiful moment.
Yeah, so, that's the kind of moment I was missing from the first book, where it's just like a uniquely Tiro moment.
I love that Cicero makes fun of Tiro, like for stuff. If Tiro is embarrassed about something, Cicero's the friend that is like, hey, you remember when you took a bath with that slave?
Yeah, he's just like, I guess you're not as trustworthy as you seem. You've been keeping stuff from me.
Yes.
Just ribbing him.
So the moment where he offers his freedom, like, I thought that, I was like, you know what, Cicero, good for you. And then the fact that it seemed like he was expecting him to turn it down. I'm like, why are you so manipulative, Cicero? Like, Kyle, do you think he was actually offering him his freedom, or do you think
I do think he was. So here's how I think he was playing it. I think he had a pretty good idea of Tiro. Like, if you've been around somebody for 30 years, you're gonna know them pretty well. I think he was probably giving Tiro an out if Tiro wanted an out, because there's a good chance Cicero's never coming back to Rome. He's going to die in exile. I mean, that's not what's happening. I'm just saying, like, in the moment, that's what it seems like is most likely. And Tiro has deserved his freedom. And you know, I do think it was a genuine offer.
Okay.
But he was like, I mean, he's probably not going to take it. But, like, if he does, then cool. But if not, then he can come with me. That's what I think. But I think it's up for interpretation.
Gotcha.
That actually, I didn't mind Cicero hoping Tiro wouldn't leave. That's very human, actually. I would do that. I'll tell someone to go, but I don't want them to go. I think that's all right, having that contradictory feelings. That was actually a very emotional moment. I had 2 pages left. I read those 2 pages for 5 minutes. I was crying. It was very beautiful. I mean, Tiro choosing to stay with Cicero, and irrespective of, the danger.
Yeah, it's also a good way to really see, like, how loyal Tiro is and how, like, committed he is to the family, to be like, okay, like you're saying, like, I've known him for a long time. He's probably going to refuse, like, because I know people and I'm Cicero, except when I don't realize that Crassus is throwing me under the bus. You know, but I think you're right. He would have been honestly surprised if Tiro took it, but he does care about Tiro. in his Cicero way. But also, I think it probably meant a lot. Hopefully, it meant a lot to Cicero that Tiro said, "You know what? I'm gonna pass." I don't know why he didn't take his freedom and then go with
Well,
Cicero.
then he's a criminal, and he can be
Mm.
Oh,
because
that's right. That's
yeah,
right.
because that
That's
was
right.
the whole thing was that he was freeing him, and then he would have to be like totally not with him anymore.
That's
And
right. Because
Tiro didn't want that.
slaves have to go with their master. It's not their fault.
Yeah,
But that's right. Because when you're exiled, you're not like you wouldn't be allowed to have any contact. You're not allowed to help him because that's part of freaking
that was the whole thing. Yeah.
Polkare's law. Yeah, that's right. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the reminder.
Okay,
Yeah.
how long will this continue? Whatever Claudius was doing, he's in full control now. Even consuls were scared of him. How long will this continue?
Do you want to know?
Um, I don't know. Like, I imagine he will be a medium presence in the third book. How's
Yeah.
that?
So Polkare's a tribune. Tribunes are elected every year, but unlike all the other offices, tribunes can be elected consecutively. So he can be elected tribune again. And he has the mob. And as long as you have the mob, he's a gang lord. I will tell you, Anitha, that a friend of Cicero, a foreigner named Annius Milo, Annius Milo.
Milo. You know what? I spent the whole book thinking it was Rufus.
No, Milo.
Yeah, it's Milo. Okay. Yeah, that makes way more sense to me because Rufus was doing things in this book and I had mixed him up with Milo.
No.
And it was
No,
like, this
Milo
doesn't seem
forms
like
counter gangs, Anitha.
Yes, yeah.
So
Well,
There's going to be warring gangs, basically.
there's going to be gang
yeah.
war, and I love Milo. I freaking love.
Yeah, I've always liked Milo way more. Yeah, for sure.
He's like, I've had enough of this guy. I've had enough of freaking Polkare. So Milo will be a presence in this one. So there is a foil to Polkare in the next one. But I freaking hate him. So do you not like Claudius Polkare, Anitha?
do you have to question that?
You don't
Oh
find
my
him.
god!
You don't find him charming. He's so gross.
Polkare is such a brute and just like so stupid. Like I don't know. He's just his whole thing to become a pleb. I mean, I'm just so annoyed that worked. If this is the thing about history. If that was in a regular fiction book, I would think it was really stupid. I would be like, they're just throwing some stuff to the wall. This
100%.
is bad plotting. Like this is.
I say the same stuff in my classes, Kyle. I'm like, if this was in a book or a movie, you would think this was stupid. You would say, no way. Like, I don't, not buying it. And the problem is the fact that freaking Caesar let him do it because Cicero had to freaking say what he did in his speech. If Cicero had just shut up, he wouldn't have unleashed Polkare on him.
The finger snapping gangs. That's funny, Sarah.
I asked this in Discord also. Do you have to be a plebeian to contest for tribune?
Yes. It is the only plebeian only office, and it was established because when the Republic was first founded, the patricians had way too much power. Like the patricians even had it, Anitha, to where they knew the law, but they didn't have to tell the plebs what the laws were. But they could arrest the plebs for breaking the laws that they had no idea existed. And so the plebs in like 494, like was the first time, I think, they literally, every pleb left the city and went to the hill, the Janiculum Hill outside, and refused to do anything. And so all these patricians are like, well, who's making my bread? Who's making my shoes? Who's sweeping the city? Like, what's going on? So they came back and they said, hey, what if y'all came back? What if y'all came back? And that's how they got, and they did it 3 times. And that's how they got a bunch of concessions from the patricians. And the tribunate was the last one they got. And from the second after they granted them the tribunate, the patricians were trying to eliminate the tribunate because it's so powerful. It's so powerful.
It's a very good foil.
Yeah. And Sulla weakened the tribunate. But when Pompey and Crassus were consuls, Pompey, because he needed the power of the people, he brought it back. So
how did Cato became tribune? I thought Cato was
a pleb. Cato's not a patrician. He's just wealthy.
Oh, I thought he was one of the what is it? Founding family members.
His great grandfather or like great he has a relative. There's Cato the Elder, and Cato the Elder is very, very famous for the phrase "Carthage must be destroyed," because he would go in the Senate and he would talk and talk and talk and talk, and then at the end of that, he would just say Carthage must be destroyed, and then he would end what he was talking, because he really hated Carthage. He was like, they're a threat to Roman, and that's like the main thing he's known for. And then so he was a relative of this Cato, but he was also a pleb, correct?
Yeah. It's a plebeian line. Now it's a well-known plebeian line, but so anything, you can't be like, the only way you can achieve nobility is by marrying it. You're either born into it or you marry into it. That's the only way. Otherwise, that's why there are rich plebeians and then poor patricians. The Antonines, Antonius Hybrida, he's a plebe. The Antonines are a really well-known plebeian family. The Antoniuses. So yeah, he comes from the Porcius gains, which is well known because of Cato the Elder there. But he's very wealthy. He just doesn't spend any money, but he's still a pleb, not a patrician.
All this reminds me when we were talking about like the history of the plebs. There's a very excellent podcast for anybody who's read these books, called the History of Rome series by Mike Duncan. They're like 15-minute intervals, so they're very, very short episodes, and they go through the entire history of Rome. There's like 200 episodes or something like that, and he is extremely knowledgeable and like really good at like getting information across very quickly. That's cool. And I just think it's an excellent podcast. And because it goes so slow, like if anybody wants to, even before watching or reading the third book, if you wanted to just get some backstory on what's going on here, you could listen to some of that. That's a truly excellent podcast.
Nice.
Whatever I do, I'll listen to it or I'll read extra sources only after this entire trilogy. I don't want to change my opinions in the middle of this.
Yeah, heck yeah.
That's fair. It would be stuff before, but yeah, wait till they're done then. So Anitha, what do you think is going to happen in the third book?
So hold on. God, this right here is my student. He's on the Quiz Bowl team, and so he's been using the podcast to study the Empire for Quiz Bowl, and he read the whole trilogy already.
Oh, good luck.
Go ahead. What do you think is going to happen in the third book, Anitha?
Well, that's tough to guess. Actually, I think maybe Cicero will come back, but I don't see how he gets his power back. I don't I don't expect Cicero's rise to fame anymore. I think Caesar will, rise, but I don't think we see that because this is focused on Cicero.
I don't think it's a spoiler to tell you the third book is named after Caesar. Caesar is the titular dictator in the third book.
Yeah, but he'll not be there for 5 years, right? He'll be in Gaul.
Caesar is actually in Gaul for 8 years. He got the commission for 5 years, but he gets another 3. He's over there for 8 years. So we've got.
And you have to think, regardless of what happens, this is a trilogy telling all of Cicero's life. So we have to assume that the third book is going to cover a lot of time because it's going to go till the end of Cicero's life, whenever that might be for people who don't want to know. So it's not just going to just cover the next couple of years. It'll cover. I almost
said the date
year?
he dies multiple times tonight, but I held my. I'm trying to look. I'm looking at part 1. Hold on. I want to see, because it always tells you the years. So part 1 is exile, 58 to 47 BC. So it picks up right as he's exiled at 58 through 47.
Is 47 is the one where Caesar? Can I spoil?
Caesar's killed in 44 BC, March 15th, 44 BC.
Okay. That's where Augustus started.
I feel like that's the one thing we can't spoil. Like, if you have to know Caesar gets assassinated. Yeah. Anything else we'll let you guys keep, but that one's too known.
Yeah. So it's 3 years. It's 3 years before Caesar is murdered. Oh man, guys, like, you know what? I'm finishing Philip's book tonight, and I was gonna pick up Crowfall and finish the Ravensmark trilogy. I'm picking up Dictator. I'm picking up Dictator.
In that case, if you're starting it, I will get it from the library because I can listen to it.
I just like, it's just man, like this has been like, and my enjoyment of these books has been elevated by talking with you, Kyle, and watching Anitha experience like how often do we does that happen to where you know the history and you watch other people?
I've never seen it happen. Like,
Yeah,
I've never, like, there might be, if I've seen other people read historical fiction, it's usually when they don't know. It's, I always recommend the Conqueror series by Connor Golden, which is the Mongols. Nobody knows anything about the Mongols.
that's true.
And so whenever people read that series, which I think you should read, Alan, they always come back and they're just like, wow, all this stuff is crazy. I didn't know anything about Subutai. And I'm like, you should, because Subutai is a genius. But other than that, like, especially with Rome, because people, if they're interested in Rome, people already tend to like read about Rome.
Yeah, know a bunch of
So
stuff.
it's just really awesome seeing people's reaction to this.
Yeah, and especially like well-known stuff like Cicero. You know,
Yeah.
like I understand if people like Rome and don't know about the First Punic War or the Third Samnite, like I get that.
Yeah.
But like first
Even
century
like,
BC is all the big
Like
stuff.
the Gwyn brothers, like Will read the first book, and in his like wrap up or whatever, he's like, I don't really know anything about Cicero. That's just probably, like, you can't know all the history, but like if you just think about, like, the Gwyn brothers are known for historical fiction and they don't know much about Cicero. I'm like, man, that's surprising. So
Yeah.
it's interesting how much.
Well, I don't think Rome is their special interest in historical fiction. I think it's probably a lot of stuff,
Greek.
that their dad likes. They like the Greek history, and
Vikings.
they like, the
Norse.
Yeah, thank you. Norse, British, Celtic, more stuff than Roman. But I think it's awesome too. They need to catch up and read Dictator and come join us for the Dictator discussion.
Do you know if Ed has read any of them yet? I know Will did.
I don't think so, but I know Will is starting Conspirata,
Nice.
or Lustrum, I guess. But I'm like, dude, just read them back to back. Like, seriously, y'all read freaking. You read Boudica. Boudica's like 800 pages. That's longer than these two books put together.
Yeah. Yeah, they totally could binge it. What were you
I
saying,
have two
Anita?
arts, otherwise I would have a read, with you guys. It would be more fun, while reading, to discuss while reading. I'm
I don't
surprised
want to immediately jump into it. Like, if you don't want to overload yourself after just finishing Lustrum.
Yeah. Mark Antony is a nobody, at least at the end of this book. I wonder how he grows, actually. I mean, next book is still 47. That
Do you
means I
know
think
the
we'll see.
name? Like, does the name Mark Anthony mean anything to you besides the fact that he's in these books?
She read Augustus.
I read Augustus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he sucks in Augustus too. Yeah.
Sucks.
I mean, I didn't know more than his name before that. Cleopatra, Mark Antony, Caesar.
Yeah, that's where I was going. I forgot that he was in Augustus. I wasn't paying attention, but like I was thinking, like, he's very tied to Cleopatra and contemporary.
She definitely doesn't know any pre-Augustus Antony stuff.
Yeah.
So Antony is a very, very good general, but a terrible politician, and he's a brute and a thug and a drunk, like all the Antonines. So I hate Antony.
He is with Claudius right now, one of those gang members.
He's with Caesar. He was, but he's one of Caesar's generals, so he goes with Caesar.
Oh, okay.
He's like Caesar's.
I don't even think he's that good of a general. I'm going to be honest. I think he gets a lot of credit for just being around people that are really good.
His initiative kept Caesar from being big Krampst at Alesia. That's really why. It's because
a broken clock is wrong.
I mean, you're right. Even a broken clock's right twice a day. You're absolutely correct. Okay, cool.
You know what? I just don't like him. I'm just like, miss me on this guy.
Because I'm withdrawing. He's a decent general. He's a crap general. He's a crap politician. He's a thug and a drunk, and I hate him.
Okay, there we go.
The book is called
Dreaming the Eagle.
Yeah, it's called Dreaming the Eagle.
By Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Amanda Scott.
Is Mark Antony popular because of the incident? Is that the only reason?
He's popular because people don't know the history. Like, just generally, Mark Antony is popular because he's tied to Cleopatra, and people yas Queen Cleopatra, and so then there's Mark Antony, like Antony and Cleopatra, and then so people think it's just like tragic, amazing love story, and it's just super not. It's just absolutely.
I hope we have some of Cicero like tearing into Cleopatra in this next book. Cicero hates Cleopatra. He hates her. He calls her that Eastern whore. And I'm like, get her.
I thought that was Cato. Is that Cicero?
Yeah, Cicero hates. No, Cato probably also does, but Cicero despises Cleopatra.
I want to see more of Cato in the next book. I
The
hope we
Mongol
get
book is
that.
called Conqueror by Con Iggulden.
The first book is called Birth of a Nation. Yeah,
Birth of a Nation. Isn't that a Hitler movie? I thought it was called Conqueror.
That's the series name.
Isn't the first one also called Conqueror though?
No.
Oh. Well, every time I see it, Conqueror is in huge letters.
Okay, I have
Birth
one
of
last
an
question.
Empire. Birth of an Empire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Birth of an Emperor. Sorry.
I have one last question. In the first book, when I heard that what is her name? Servilia?
Servilia!
Servilia, that she is very clever. I thought we'll get more of her in this book. But even in this book, we were told that she is the cleverest woman in Rome, but we did not see any details. I want to know why she is the cleverest woman.
Yeah. I mean, I think you might see more Servilia in this one because Servilia's Brutus's mother.
Yeah.
And you know who Brutus is.
Yeah, I remember from Augustus.
Yeah. She's his mom. So I imagine we'll probably see. And the thing is, there's this is probably unlikely, less than the Catiline one. There are still rumors that Brutus is Caesar's kid, really, because Servilia was his mistress. But
I think that's just a romantic story, like not romantic, like love,
romanticized,
romanticized story, because it is technically possible.
But it's unlikely based on the years.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's something
better
I think
than them being foster brothers, Kyle.
I agree 100%.
Oh my gosh. So, oh man, I can't wait, Anitha. This has been an absolute treat.
Do you guys want to have the live show for the third book in 2 days so that Anitha can binge the third one?
No, because I can't binge it in 2 days, Kyle.
Poor Anitha, just so everybody knows, she binged most of this book in like a day because this was the only day until Alan goes to Rome that we could do this chat. And so Anitha's a huge trooper.
And the reason for that is because these freaking Shogun people couldn't get their act together. So I had to move the Shogun thing, and so I had to. Anyway, I think it's like next something. It's next Tuesday or something, Sarah. I don't know. When these people get their act together, I'll let you know. But man.
Kyle, when you responded there, actually, okay, I can do 7 p.m. Central. I was like, I binged in 1 day. You have to do no option.
Oh, Sarah.
I just meant I can do like anytime.
Don't read Augustus yet. Finish Dictator and then read Augustus, because if you read Augustus, it will spoil.
Augustus takes place afterwards. Don't start with
it. Read Dictator first and then read Augustus.
I wish it doesn't matter that much, but I wish we had read this trilogy and then done your group read of Augustus, and then we're gonna do Claudius, and then we're gonna do Hadrian. Like, I just wish we had just did all of it chronological.
But... Anitha, you have to read I Claudius with us too.
Yeah.
I just keep picturing Anitha being like, "What's wrong with these people?" Like asking, like, "Why are these people like this?" Because they're just, it's gonna be so good.
We have to find a book that's in between Claudius and Hadrian. That's a big time gap.
I'll definitely read I Claudius. I mentioned that in my video, one of the videos, Buddy Reads video. But Hadrian, I'm not sure, because I'm not sure how accessible it is. Whether I'll be able to understand the language, I'll have to see.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll at least get to Claudius first, and then we'll try to find something between them. There is not enough. There's historical fiction, but I don't like it. Like, I've read like a sample of the Vespasian series. The freaking Vespasian should have more historical fiction about him other than this one.
Do you not like it? I've been collecting them because like every month they seem to put 1 or 2 of them on like the Kindle monthly deals.
Oh, really?
And there's 9 of them, so I have like 7, I think, but I haven't tried them at all.
Well, let me investigate further and see how, like, because what I don't want is a Brutus is Caesar's half brother thing. If they are even the problem is I think that I'm not sure that they're super accurate. In which case, it's fine. But I'll look more. he is right. Boudica happens right after Claudius, after he conquers Britain. But that's going to deal mostly with the friggin' Iceni.
England, yeah.
Yeah. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Anyway, everyone, thank you for joining. Anitha, thank you. Kyle, thank you. This was awesome. This was so fun. So yeah, I'm going to finish Philip's book tonight. I probably won't be able to start. I'll probably start Dictator tomorrow. But again, I can't read much on school nights because I've got too much freaking work to do, and I've been getting home really late because of PT. So it'll take me a minute. So Kyle, you don't have to start it right now because you'll finish it super fast.
Yeah, with audio, I'll finish it in like 2 days.
Yeah, so don't even worry about it. But and so Anitha, you should read something in between because you're a pretty fast reader too. Read something in between and then pick up Dictator. You are a fast reader. Get out of here. You read freaking Fool's Errand in like 3 days.
No.
Didn't you read The Great Hunt in like 1 day or something like that? That's what I seem to remember.
Like one sprint, she read it.
If I read fast, I mean, it's not consistent. I have to take a break tomorrow. It's like that. Now
yesterday I had a day off, and I was really excited to read. Like I was like, I'm gonna get further in Shogun. I had nothing to do yesterday, and I read 5 pages of any book. I just was like, I don't want to read today.
Read Shogun. It's so good.
I'm going to.
Okay, good.
I've actually really liked it. I was saying the reason I'm still not even at part 3, but it's not because I'm not enjoying the book. It's because I'm a procrastinator. And if I have 3 months that I'm supposed to read the book in, I'm like, I have till March. So this month I'm actually going to read. You'll
catch up to us by our final discussion at the end of April.
Yes.
Gotcha. That makes sense. All right. What? Okay.
Those are like 1,000 pages.
Sal, it's a 7-book series, and they're too long.
Even I think they're too long.
We can't. And it goes backwards. We're already committed. We've come. We're
starting with Cicero.
That's right. We're already committed. We can't go back to Marius and Sulla and all through Caesar again. We're committed. We gotta move it on. We gotta keep.
I do really want to read that series though, but
so do I. But I just I don't have the bandwidth of the time right now. But I really do want to read those. So anyway, all right. Commenters, chat, thank you guys for showing up. Really appreciate you guys reading along with us. The Dictator one will be beginning of April because I'm out of pocket in the middle of the month and the last weekend of the month. So beginning of April. So yeah, Anitha, Kyle, thank you guys for joining me, and we'll see you guys next time in broadcast.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.